and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Thanks for watching. My name is Rich Tehrani. We're at Interop 2011 in Las Vegas. On our program is Tara Van Unen. She is the Senior Manager of Market Development at IXIA. Tara, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rich?
Great. So your company, I've known it for years. You make testing solutions.
Yes.
And one of the things that we had a chance to talk about before the cameras were rolling is just how the idea of testing has evolved over the years, right?
It has, for the enterprise in particular. The typical enterprise operator wasn't overly concerned with doing any type of pre-deployment testing on networks because the infrastructure upgrades were relatively straightforward and simple, and it wasn't something that was even in their mindset. Heavily relied on the specifications that they received from equipment manufacturers. And now with cloud computing and server virtualization, they're such game-changing technologies for the data centers that they're starting to pay a bit more due diligence before flipping that switch or adding more VMs to understanding what the implication is going to be on their actual data center and the applications and the traffic.
And your company's also made a concerted effort to produce testing tools that are easier to use, easier to access, right? I mean, one of the slogans that you've had in the past is that testing is no longer a dirty word or four-letter word. I mean, still a four-letter word, but now it's a lot easier than it's ever been, right?
Exactly. The typical enterprise manager hasn't been involved with testing, and they've generally shied away from that and gone duck for cover, just hearing the word test. So our traditional focus has been equipment manufacturers. They like to do the deep dive. They like to get dirty, mess around with the configurations. That's their thing. With the enterprise, it's all about making it as simple and easy as possible for them to do the testing that they need. So we had to design an entirely new application, a next generation of our IX network application that was much simpler to configure with a lot of automation. So point and click for the common enterprise scenarios.
Right.
Divide and conquer approach, so you can split the configuration of test scenarios into different components, and you have an expert on one area. Your server, storage, and switch guys can kind of work together and build different things in a modular fashion. So it's all about making them more productive, making it non-intimidating. And that's been a couple-year project to engineer an application that was designed with that user in mind.
And certainly now with the advent of virtualization becoming so popular, testing has become more important, right?
Definitely. So servers, if you think about server virtualization, and before you had a single physical server with one application maybe serving 200 users, the average number of VMs per virtualized server today is 12 to 15. So you're going from a model where you had one application with 200 users to 12 to 15 VMs and applications with upwards of 10,000 users accessing that server. So there is a natural increase in the I/O going across that data center network, as well as the traffic. So that's really the one thing that has driven the growth of 10 gigabit in data center networks today. So 80% of the top of rack switch ports are now 10 gigabit Ethernet, and that's primarily to address the capacity requirements of virtualized servers.
And that's going to 40 quite quickly, right?
It is. There is already 40 gig CNAs and switch ports on the market today on the top of rack switches. And I think a really clear sign of, I guess, the growth of that, or the deployment, the nearness of that deployment is we're doing a test with leading top of rack switch vendors in the fall, which is a cloud computing test for a data center environment where they're all bringing their switches with a combination of 10 gig and 40 gig ports, because their customers, their enterprise customers, are looking to those performance benchmarks to make their investment decisions.
And one of those companies, Alcatel-Lucent, is here at the show, right?
They are. In fact, their OmniSwitch won Best of Interop, and we're we're doing that exact demonstration that I just talked about, the cloud scenario where you're modeling the east-west and north-south traffic flows in a cloud environment around that switch, and it's 352 ports of 10 gig in that demonstration. And that scenario is taken from these new benchmarking suites that we designed with Lipis Report, and that's a new paradigm of virtualized data center benchmarking tests. So that's what enterprise are looking to see, which switch has the best energy efficiency, highest capacity, and can deliver the ultra low latency for their time sensitive applications. And they want a reliable, repeatable way to benchmark one vendor against another. So it's what that test is all about.
So what's next for the company?
Well, you'll have to wait and see. You talk to me next year at Intra. We're growing. The vision for IXIA is to provide test solutions all the way from the wireless edge and access all the way through the network core to the data center and servers. So to cover all aspects of that end-to-end network environment. And with all the conversions taking place, it's become very challenging for our equipment manufacturers. They've had to implement a lot more functionality on each individual device with the convergence of video and voice and data traffic and mobile data on the backhaul networks as well. So the synergies that we have across the portfolio have worked well for us in that regard, because we're able to leverage our expertise in the different market segments to provide a more holistic solution.
And you've certainly grown, I mean, from carrier to enterprise. I mean, you really have a suite of solutions, wireless, so you're everywhere.
Exactly, and our traditional focus has been the network core, the core service providers, the core network equipment manufacturers, and you've seen over the last couple of years we've been very aggressively growing both into the wireless space and into the enterprise data center space. So look for more growth and announcements in those areas in the coming months and years.
Will do. Thanks, Tara. Thanks for being here.